Hi, I'm Kara the Home Learner, and this week I am doing a bullet journal mini-series on my blog, thehomeLearner.com. And in this video, I want to talk about big jumps when planning for your bullet journal. Before you grab your notebook and a pen, what are some of the things that you need to think about, questions you need to answer before you start putting your pen to paper? Because if you're anything like me, if you get your wheels spinning too quickly and you start scribbling things down and you end up with 5 or 6 pages of clutter, I tend to get overwhelmed by my bullet journal if it's not organized. And then I put it on the shelf for days and weeks and sometimes even months, and my life just spirals out of control. And not really, but what I mean by that is things don't get done. I actually missed an appointment and I don't follow through on the commitments that I make to friends and family. So if you're like me, then you need to think through some big questions. Some of the big questions that I'm asking on my blog are, will my bullet journal also be my calendar? So I know on the main, bulletjournal.com, the official website, they show you how to set up your bullet journal as your calendar by writing out the month and keeping your dates organized like that. Also having your future log where you keep the upcoming months organized, and you can schedule your appointments in advance. So for instance, if you're like me, when you go to get your teeth cleaned at the dentist's office, they always want to set up your next visit in 6 months. So you have to have a place for that month in your bullet journal, and the bulletjournal.com website will explain how to do that. So that wasn't really working for me. I wasn't using my bullet journal at the time. So looking back on my last bullet journal, I completely stopped using my bullet journal as a calendar and was just using Google. And so that failed me as well. So looking into my new bullet journal, I had to ask myself, will I use my bullet journal as my calendar, my only calendar? And how am I gonna commit to that? So that's the first big question I asked myself. The second big question is, do I need to write out the months in advance or just each week? So as you work through your bullet journal, they have you write out the entire month on the first day of the month. Is that something that's beneficial to me, or would it be better to just work week by week? What other planners or organizers am I currently using, like Google Calendar? And not only what is it, but is it working for me? Am I utilizing it to its fullest capacity? Do I feel organized with the way I'm currently using it? Now, am I also going to include journaling space in my bullet journal? Or is it just going to be a calendar and a to-do list organizer? What categories of life will go into the bullet journal? Am I going to do my homeschool planning there? Am I going to journal my personal growth? Am I going to keep lists of books I want to read, or books I have read, or book reviews? What categories are important to me to keep in this one spot? Then, do I feel creative? And what tools do I want to try and use? Am I satisfied with this bullet journal being plain? One of the things that I see on Pinterest and other YouTube videos is people that are setting up their bullet journals, and they have washi tape, and they have the whole spread is just covered in scrapbooking materials, or they purchase fancy book darts and all sorts of stuff. Is that something that's going to be beneficial to me? And by beneficial, I mean, if I have something beautiful to use in my bullet journal, will I be more inclined to pick it up every day? Or will that intimidate me and make me feel like I'm failing if I end up leaving a page completely with just pen? So I personally need to lower the standard on how beautiful I'm going to make my bullet journal and just be okay with the amount of visual creativity that I'm capable of. Another one is it important to me to be economic or visually appealing with my entries? So that's basically the same idea as being creative or plain. What pens and markers and other tools am I going to want to use to make it visually appealing? Am I going to color code things, or will that be stressful to me in the future? Because, for instance, if you are traveling with your bullet journal and you have it in your bag and you go to an appointment and you're at the dentist's office and they want to schedule your next 6-month appointment, let's say you have color-coded appointments as purple, and you go to pull out your bullet journal and write down the date that they have projected for your next appointment, and you only have a black pen. Is that going to stress you out? I know for me that stresses me out, and it makes me feel like, oh, I failed the system and I'm not doing it right. So I don't color code. I use colors just for visual stimulation, and I like the beauty of seeing purple and blue and black and green and whatever else. And it also helps break up the flow of a page. If it's not all black, I actually tend to look at it and read it more. And if it's all monotone, I tend to ignore the page. So I like to make lists and other journal entries like that visually appealing to me by using multiple colors on purpose, but for no coding. So that's just my little tidbit. My last question for this video is, what bag will I use to carry my bullet journal in, and can I commit to taking that bag everywhere? Am I comfortable using the same bag when I go to the grocery store and to a friend's house and out for coffee and just running an errand? Is that the bag I'm going to take? Because if it isn't, then I'm not going to use my bullet journal. I have to have something that can fit the bullet journal in order to feel like I'm utilizing the system. So either the bullet journal size needs to be small enough to fit in a small bag if I prefer using a small bag, or I can use whatever size bullet journal I have and use a larger bag, but commit to taking that larger bag everywhere I go. So for me, a comfort level comes into play when I'm choosing my bag, because I don't like bags that have a cross the shoulder strap. I am not going to use a bag like that. And I prefer either, like, I have a diaper bag that's a backpack that my bullet journal fits in, and then my personal purse or my mom bag is a side strap bag that fits my bullet journal inside. So I have to keep track of what bag I'm using for the season. Like, I've got a summer bag and a fall bag and a winter bag. And I just want to make sure that I'm pairing my bullet journal with the right bag so that I actually use the system. So those are some of my examples of big idea questions that I think you should wrestle with before you get started with your bullet journal setup, in order to make sure that you are setting yourself up to use the system, because if you use it, that's how it's going to be the most beneficial to you. If you come across some of these questions that I've listed today and you haven't thought it through and you fail to figure it out, you're going to put the bullet journal system down and you're going to go a few days without it and coast, and it's going to feel all right for a little bit until it's completely fails. So I hope this helps, and Look forward to the next video. Please like and subscribe. That would totally make my day. Thanks.